Yes, we watched this all unfold. Twitter falling apart since Elon Musk acquired the company. I've listened enough. It's time to say something. It's time to talk about how Twitter can be saved, how to fix Twitter right now. I mean, Elon even asked for it. This is Raw Startup. So I asked my co-founder at Vivino, what would we do to fix Twitter right now? We built the largest wine community in the world with over 60 million users all over the world. It is no Twitter, but we learned a lot over the last 12 years. So what would we do to fix Twitter right now? As always, this is Raw Startup. No BS, no beating around the bush. We're going to say exactly what we think needs to be done with Twitter right now. We built a list of 7 things that should happen, things that will make Twitter a great service and a good business that can stay with us for a long time. I've been on Twitter since 2009, and my co-founder and guest tonight, Theis, and I actually had dinner with Evan Williams, one of the founders of Twitter, back in the early days of Twitter. Evan told us about the product. It was based on text messages. Not that easy to use. We didn't really understand it back then. It really wasn't very good, but boy, did they figure it out later. Before we get to the list, the first thing I want to say to the people making decisions at Twitter is slow the fuck down. And this is coming from me, the most impatient person in the world. You know, maybe the second most impatient person in the world, but please slow the fuck down. I really don't want to do a fail video on Twitter. I want Twitter to succeed. Still, I bet should they fail, the primary reason will be a 4-letter word starting with an E. We're mostly going to talk about the future in this video, what should happen from here. I will avoid to try and talk about the clusterfuck that it's been so far. I have so much to say, but I'm not going to go there. We want to talk about what we would do from a business and product point of view, also trying to avoid politics. This is all about how to fix Twitter from here. With that, let's get started. Number 1, remove Elon Musk. It is not that I don't respect what he has done previously, but we have to separate Tesla, Starlink, and SpaceX from this conversation. The fact is that Elon Musk has done a horrible job as CEO of Twitter so far, and there are no signs of improvement.
He's scaring away advertisers. He's scaring away really talented and needed employees. And step 1 in fixing Twitter is to get rid of Elon Musk.
Twitter needs a new CEO. The only reason he's still CEO is because he fully controls the company. Nobody else has the leverage to remove him. If there was a real board of directors at Twitter, they would have taken him out a long time ago. With this behavior, it's also pretty clear that he hasn't run a company for a very long time. And no, Elon Musk isn't the real CEO of Tesla, SpaceX, Starlink, the Boring Company, and Neuralink. He may have the title, but nobody can be the CEO of 6 companies at the same time, not even a genius like Elon Musk. There are real people, you know, grown-ups running those companies. No matter how much of a genius you are, there just aren't enough hours in the day. Number 2, get the advertisers back. 90% of Twitter's revenue is advertising. Twitter cannot exist without the advertisers. Definitely not in the short term and probably not in the long term.
Twitter doesn't have a business without advertisers. Even no matter how much subscription you do or whatever you do, you need advertisers. It's a media platform. You cannot do it without advertisers. And they are running away right now. So you need them back. You need a fresh start.
Twitter has to commit to listening to what the advertisers want. Without the advertisers, Twitter just isn't a viable business, even with the lower number of employees.
Twitter needs a lot of money. There's $1 billion that they need to pay in interest on their new debt. And even if you start subscription tomorrow and make it a huge success, you need advertising dollars in the bank right now to make those commitments.
So send a clear signal to advertisers that Twitter will do what it takes to get the advertisers back. Start building the trust that was broken again. This has to be a priority, and there are more things on this list that are related to the advertisers. Number 3, commit to content moderation. Content moderation is a requirement from the advertisers. They don't want their brand next to some hate speech, and they certainly don't want their brand compromised in any way.
They need to invest heavily in this, mainly to get advertisers back, but also just to make a safe environment for all the users that you need.
And here we have to remember that the products that have more moderation do better, not the other way around. So who has the most moderation? Well, TikTok. They are doing incredibly well as a service and a business. What about the other side of the scale? Who has the least moderation? Well, Truth Social, Parler, or Gap. They're all tiny and have basically no business. There's a clear correlation here. The more moderation you have, the bigger and better you become, both as a service and a business.
To get advertisers back, you need to send them a very clear signal that there's a line in the sand now. From now on, content moderation is key, it's king, it's going to be invested heavily in.
Number 4, make a paid subscription with variable pricing. With 300 million monthly active users, Twitter is one of the biggest online services in the world. And they have a user base that mostly loves Twitter and enormous potential to build a paid service. Obviously, there's no law of nature that says Twitter should be a free product for everybody.
I think Musk is absolutely right that he needs to introduce a paid subscription. There is so much money left on the table from a lot of committed users that would love extra features. Like you say, also a lot of people that have huge reach and have huge influence because of Twitter. And there's a lot of people that use Twitter for professional reasons. So monetizing those users is absolutely valid. I believe he went about it in completely the wrong way by conflating verification with a paid subscription and causing a ton of confusion. And obviously we saw that they had to roll it back.
It should be a product with variable pricing because some people just get a lot more out of Twitter. Let's have a look at what that could be, just some ideas what it could look like. I mean, there could be a product for premium users. They could pay between $5 and $15 depending on the service. There could be features like edit tweet, some badge, definitely not the blue one, fewer ads, and boost reach. There could be a product for reporters and researchers that use Twitter a lot. Maybe they pay $30 to $50 per month, depending on level. Feature examples could be research and data tools to find great stories. And then there's a group of people that get a lot out of Twitter, celebrities. Of course, you want them to stay on Twitter, but we might get a little bit of money out of it. Maybe you can get them to pay $30 to $100 per month. Feature examples could be filtered notifications and filtered DMs. I would aim for, say, $10 a month on average mixed among these groups. Now let's have a look at how that could impact Twitter's revenue. And this would be net after tax and any Google and Apple tax. Twitter has around 300 million monthly active users. Industry standard for a service like this, probably 3 to 4% would convert into paid. All the other ones are still free, but with Twitter's engagement, I think Twitter could all the way to 5%. But who knows? Okay, so how much would that generate in revenue for Twitter? Let's first look at a 2% conversion. That gives you 6 million subscribers and $720 million in annual revenue. Then we have 3, and then we have 4. If we get all the way to 5% conversion, you are talking 15 million users at almost $2 billion in revenue. And these are not crazy numbers, it's just because Twitter has a lot of users. I might even argue that $10 per month is pretty conservative. There's a lot of people willing to pay more. And for comparison, we're talking 15 million users at the highest level, and Disney Plus has 164 million paying users. This is all still peanuts compared to that. Still, these numbers are very relevant for Twitter as a business. Twitter had a revenue of $5 billion in 2021, so adding 1 or 2 billion to that is incredibly important. Remember though, we still need the advertisers, but this comes on top and could make Twitter a sustainable business in the long term. These are not products you can build in a few weeks, but you could build the first version in a few months and then build more from there. I think a paid subscription is what takes Twitter into profit for the first time in a long time. Number 5, take care of the employees. And the situation is bad here. Cutting costs was probably a good idea, but doing it like this, the execution was just horrible. First, there were 7,500 employees. Then there were 3,700, and now 1,200 resigned. We're down to 2,500. That is not good, and that's without knowing all the details. The 1,200 that resigned might well be the best people, the people that know they can get a job somewhere else. Like any other business in the world, Twitter has to commit to taking care of their employees. That's just how you run a business today.
Musk clearly hasn't read the same books that you and I have read on leadership, and he's taking a different approach to it. I think he's vastly underestimating that this company is different from the other companies. The other companies he has been running have been very much engineering companies. It's been about building a rocket, how do you get it into space? Building a car, how do you get it to drive further? This is a media company, it's a social company, and it's a completely different beast from how do we build a rocket engine. And you cannot do it only with a hardcore team of all male engineers. You need a very solid foundation here, and you're not going to be the one that comes up with the best ideas for this. You need your team around you. And right now, he's scaring away a lot of people that could be very valuable to Twitter in the longer run.
And this is just basic hygiene when running a company. Take care of your employees, and they will take care of you. No company ever does well without taking care of their people. Cost cutting has to be done sometimes. It is just needed, but it can be done gracefully and with respect for the people. Quick reminder before we go on, since this is a video about Twitter, we should actually like and comment on Twitter too. I'll have a link in the description. Number 6, invest in a real reputation system. Of all the big social networks, Twitter probably has the worst reputation system. This has to be fixed for advertisers to come back and users to stay.
I think a reputation system is everything on a medium like Twitter, and clearly it hasn't been invested in enough until now. From what I read, this is actually one of the things on the paper in front of Mr. Musk that he wants to do, because he wants to try to control and impact the reach that people have depending on their reputation. I think it's absolutely essential to do, and it's going to be a cornerstone of doing great content moderation.
Algorithms that only boost based on how engaged the users are, whatever they say, will automatically boost divisive, harassing, and even hateful tweets, as that kind of speech can be engaging. This can be done by boosting real identities, boosting paid users, and many, many other ways. Doing this will also kill all the bots. If they're not hurt, the scammers won't invest in them anymore and they will disappear.
LinkedIn works because they have real identities behind it. For a couple of reasons, you might not want that to be a requirement on Twitter. It might have a negative impact on minorities and how they can use the platform. But a reputation system is simply the idea that the more the community appreciates what you're doing, the bigger reach you will have. And you have places like Reddit, you have places like GitHub that is doing this in an amazing way. And you don't need to invent things from the beginning. You can look at those platforms, see what they're doing, and you can implement that on Twitter as well.
Number 7, be realistic on what Twitter as a business can and should be. Create a real vision for Twitter and communicate it. What are we building here? A super app? A town square? Payments? Nobody knows. It's all over the place. Figure it out, make a decision, and move in that direction.
You need a market maker to be allowed to be a super app, and you have that in China with the Communist Party. You don't have that here. You can argue that we have 2 super apps in the Western world, and that is iOS and Android. It's the operating system. That's kind of almost a definition of the super app, is that it's so big that you have multiple apps inside it. That is what's going on our phones right now. And I think there's a 1% chance that Elon Musk can pull it off and make a super app out of Twitter, which means that it's a very, very, very risky bet.
I think a town square sounds like a good idea, but just be aware that the biggest town square in the world might not be worth more than $44 billion. Realize that Elon and his investors paid too much for Twitter. Timing was bad. Sorry, that happens.
So I think one realistic ambition for Twitter is to be the town square of the planet Earth. And I think that's a great ambition. I would love to see that happen. And I think to a certain extent, they've already proven that they can be that. The challenge is that being the town square of planet Earth is not necessarily the best business in the world. Being the town market is probably much better business than being the town square. So you need to be realistic about how you can monetize and how big a business this can be. If you and I were in charge of Twitter right now, I would argue heavily for being more realistic about what this company can be and what it should be.
Now, don't destroy the company by setting too lofty goals and you lose everything. Set a realistic vision for Twitter, even if that means the company won't be worth more than $44 billion ever again. That's it. These are the 7 things, and Twitter will be great. I'm not saying this is easy to do, but it can be done. A lot of what happened so far were just bad decisions and poor execution. Both probably because everyone was in too much of a hurry. I'll say it again, slow the fuck down and you'll make better decisions. If you want more content just like this, please consider pressing like and subscribe, and you won't miss any future videos. Thank you very much for watching Raw Startup. Now stop watching, go build something.